Hey, this is Nikki, and I'm going to catch up on RuPaul's Drag Race 2 episodes. I'm going to do both the Ru Hollywood stories and the Snatch game. So I apologize, I was at a tournament, I got behind, yada yada yada. I did shoot very well. Thank you so much for asking. That's so kind of you. I'm going to breeze through one episode, then through the next. So if I don't know if you want to skip the first one, go I guess about midway through. So we start the Merle Ginsburg is going to come back. She's going to be a judge. So we're going to be doing the Ru Hollywood story of why she got fired. I kind of wish I'd heard more, but for those of you who don't know, in season 3, Merle's replaced by Michelle Visage, and I guess they're kind of doing the version of how it happened. So they do, Max is just so prissy. I think that's so weird in a drag queen. I don't think it's bad. I don't think you have to be a certain way. It just constantly confuses me. And the accent, right? Like the accent's like when you with your friends are like goofing off and doing an English accent and you're like, well, darling, I never have sex. Like that's the kind of voice you do. They do some weird monster in the pants game involving guys pulling stuff out of their underwear, blah, blah. They were all very excited about it, but Minge wins by being the only person I think who has any points at all. So she teams up with Kennedy and Katya, and then puts Max, Violet, and Candy on a team who Candy, by the way, looks just like Skillrex. And then Fame, Jaden, and Pearl are on a team. And they each do a version of RuPaul, Merle, and Michelle, and play out a story of what could have happened. The first team, Ginger, Kennedy, and Katya, was good. I thought they did a pretty good job. It was from Merle's point of view. Kennedy wasn't the strongest RuPaul, but I thought that Ginger and Katya both did a strong Merle and Merle and Michelle. Then we go to the next team, which is Michelle's point of view, and it's Max, Violet, and Kennedy, and it was not good. Okay? And then the last team, Fame, Jaden, and Pearl, also not good. And then they do kind of a death becomes a runway. How would you die? Meh. I mean, some of them were really good, like a sailor's outfit with a shark on the leg. Makes perfect sense, eaten by sharks. Some of them were sort of like vampire. Okay, I guess. But another one was like a chicken with blood coming out. Chicken horse thing. Anyway, Katya is the winner. That whole team's safe. We go to the bottom teams. Max, I don't want to see any more gray hair. Not a very good Merle. Although I thought she did have a good argument for why her characterization of Merle was so bad, which is that she was in Michelle's point of view, and so she was like over the top Merle, which I kind of thought was at least a fallback excuse that kind of worked. Violet didn't work as Michelle. She was kind of rude in the whole process. Anyway, in the end, it's Jaden and Candy, and Jaden stays. There you go. Next episode, everyone's favorite one, and they really do just need to make its own spin-off. They have the Snatch game. We spend a half an hour laughing at celebrity impersonations. They could do it, if they don't want to do it every season, they could do it one-off, best of, anyway. Kennedy does Little Richard, and I am blown out of the water that they do not nail Kennedy to the wall for that, because remember when Alaska did gay drag for one of the challenges, and it was very, very good. Farmer John or something, and it was really funny. But they were like, it's a guy. We don't want to see a guy. So I kind of feel like no matter how good the Little Richard was, they should have been like, I'm sorry, it's a guy. Although it was a very feminine Little Richard, so I'll give him that. Max, once again, is the world's prissiest Sharon Needles. They have the whole thing. If there's 2 Donatella Versace's, and RuPaul's like, well, you should stick to your idea for Donatella Versace. Although I do think she was right, though, about steering Violet towards Alyssa Edwards, because I think it was much funnier. And then there was a Susie Orman, there was an Adele, and there was, gosh, I don't even remember all of them. Everyone was universally pretty funny. Not so much because of who they did. They were just kind of funny in general. It wasn't so much that you were like, oh, that joke only would have worked with them being Susie Orman or, gosh, who else was there? I have them all. Oh, Big Ange, which this makes me feel like I must watch the same shows as people who watch RuPaul, which makes sense because it's a reality show, because I get most of their reference. I don't watch a lot of Susie Orman, but there you go. Fame, and so they do it pretty well. The Donatello was and Jaden was Raven, Simone, and I didn't even know that she had this whole thing about psychic and visions. I knew about the lesbian thing, but so I was kind of like, huh. And most of the jokes for me kind of landed a little flat. I think they landed flat for everybody. As they prepare, Fame and Katya have a sober talk, which I think is important. I'm not going to dismiss that. You know, I respect that when you're going through a hard time emotionally, you need to talk to someone, and they did. And Jaden's Raven ends up on the bottom, and the Sharon Needles, Max, ends up on the bottom. And I was ready to kind of send Max out. And that is exactly who went out. The gray hair, the kind of prissy attitude. But beyond that, that's the extent of what I know about him. I just feeling like we're still at a point where not a lot of people are standing out. Minge is standing out. I feel Kennedy's doing okay. Oh, and by the way, Kennedy wins for the Little Richard, which I'm like, really? I didn't think it was that good. And tied with Minge, who did Adele. I think everyone was really strong, but I really don't think there were that many really standout people that were so much funnier than anyone else, if you know what I mean. Like, everybody was good. It was, normally it seems like it's 50-50. Hilarious, awful. And this time it was like, everybody was funny, and these two were like kind of down here. The Donatello, I thought that was the worst, but that did end up in the bottom. Jaden, Raven, and then Max is Sharon Needles. I will say Katya is starting to gain some momentum for me. I think my opinion is that he's the funniest in interviews. They use him a lot for interviews, and I think that's because he's the wittiest in there. I think they personally like him a lot. So there you go. Catch you guys later.